So I'd like to ride for Cinda, who's the woman who I had dinner with last night. She's the 8th-month cancer survivor who, unfortunately, didn't need chemo because it hadn't spread to her lymph nodes, but she's now on 5-year treatment. And she was joking that her hair is slowly falling out instead of quickly because of chemo. But hopefully, she said when it all falls out, she can wear a different wig every day. She can mix things up and it'd be easier to do it. So I'm going to ride for her.
I'd like to dedicate my ride to Jennifer Pitcher, who's Circle. She's a 18-year cancer survivor.
It reminded me, in some sense, of my own mother, who's a breast cancer survivor, but I guess made me think how lucky I was that she gets so sick that she didn't have to do that. She was always called to take care of us, and the family that she had breast cancer. I'm rededicating my ride to Woman at the Watch,
Only static, only airwaves. Sound of a heartbeat is my call. So take a left, take a right. It's getting dark, flip on the right. There's road ahead and we're on our way to nowhere. Take a right, take a left. We're out of gas and out of breath. Don't know what's ahead, but I know I'm still going. I'm breathing heavy at the stoplight. Can't see what's coming my way. And every little town I pass has stories that I tell someday. But I didn't bring a pen or paper, didn't bring the mind to write it down. I hear a calling elsewhere, and I will follow the sound. So take a left, take a right. It's getting dark, flip on the right. There's road ahead and we're on our way to nowhere. Take a right, take a left. We're out of gas and out of breath. Don't know what's ahead, but I know I'm still going. I wanna drive. It makes me feel alive. Please let me drive. Just give me an open road. I think I'm ready. I don't even have to pack. Just give me an open road. I know I'm ready, and I'm never coming back. So take a left, take a right. It's getting dark, flip on the right. There's road ahead and we're on our way to nowhere. Take a right, take a left. We're out of gas and out of breath. Don't know what's ahead, but I know I'm still going. So take a left, take a right. It's getting dark, flip on the right. There's road ahead and we're on our way to nowhere. Take a right, take a left. We're out of gas and out of breath. Don't know what's ahead, but I know I'm still going.
Head bowed, body bent. Jesus' love don't pay the rent. I pray, but I won't repent. Made in USA. Corn liquor on a poplar stump. Trash burning in 55-gallon drum. Back out to boneyard of memories and junk. Made in USA.
Why are my gloves not on?
I don't know. Not the first time you've done that, Sarah. I mean, I'm just saying.
That must have been from blood, yeah.
And what's hard for you about this?
What's hard for me, I mean, obviously the physical aspect is hard. I mean, you have to push yourself every day to finish the day, and of course there'll be harder days to come. But sometimes that stuff, that is just like alleviated by the reason that we're biking is obviously to raise money and awareness, fighting cancer. But we all have a personal reason for it. My grandfather, who was very inspirational to me, very influential, died when I was 12 from leukemia, and he's the one I'm riding for. And every time that you just don't want to climb that mountain or go on, you're just tired. You just think about the person you're riding for, people that you're meeting along the way, and just you realize how good a cause it is. And you just keep pushing.
It's a game where everybody goes out and reverse hype.
I feel like it's fitting the last day of my life. It doesn't necessarily have to do with cancer, but it speaks more to why I'm here and my real reasons for doing this trip. I mentioned it last year, so I'll mention it again this year. My freshman year, there was a senior on our baseball team, Mike Gala, and he was really one of the reasons why I felt home in Hopkins. And then sophomore year, he was our strength and conditioning coach, and he really taught our team, and me specifically, what it means to put in a hard day's work and what you can get out of that. And in August of 2006, he was killed in a car crash. So I read last year for mine. I didn't get any safety.
Person I learned about in Montgomery City, I was talking to a lady and she was telling me about her niece who was diagnosed with cancer in her junior year of high school, and her only goal was to go to her junior prom, which she had been looking forward to so much. But because her cancer was so severe and she was currently going through chemo treatment, she didn't have any hair, so she was really nervous about it, and her wig was really itchy. So what all the guys in her grade did was they all shaved her head, and she was actually nominated and won homecoming for homecoming.
Let me talk to you for just a minute, if I may. I just want to thank you for coming here. And I want to tell you a little bit about the area and just a couple of things. I went off to college and married after a couple of years there. Her name is Rosemary. I don't think that any of you have ever met her, because last year she was tremendously ill and you kind of bypassed and went on your way. The year before, the picture that's in the paper this last couple of weeks was when you were here 2 years ago, and she was standing in the middle of you for your picture. She had colon cancer. We have 4 children. This is who they are. On the left is Billy, then Crystal, then Scotty, and then Angel. And they are all grown. They are all married. They live fairly close around here. I get to see them, and be around them, and things like that. But Rosemary's colon cancer was a long battle, and I just want to commend you for being willing to ride for something that you maybe haven't experienced. You might not have had cancer, and you might not even have somebody that you know that has. But I want you to know it's devastating. It does kill people. It isn't a game. And so when you ask for help, you just need to realize people's feelings run deep if they are involved with cancer. Rosemary was diagnosed with colon cancer. It was sort of a fluky deal. Her sister had a colonoscopy and told her that she should get one, so she did. and she checked clean. But she got deathly sick the following years. This would have been 5 years ago. And so we went back in, and the doctor said, whoops. And because we did another colonoscopy. And he called me into his, I was sitting in the lobby. He came out and he said, I have some news for you. And I said, sit down and tell me. He said, no, come over here. And he took me over to the corner, and I could tell he was just kind of shaking, nervous. And I said, just tell me what's the matter. And he said, I have to be honest with you. When I diagnosed this the first time, I was wrong. I missed. I thought I was at the end of her colon. I was actually about 2/3 of the way through, and I was bumping into the tumor and didn't realize it. So now the tumor, and I've learned a whole new vocabulary. The word metastasize is familiar to you probably, but that means that it's gone into an invasive kind of an area of growth. And he said the tumor has metastasized outside the colon, and so all I can say is I'm sorry. And I looked at that doctor because I knew what he was really thinking is this could be a lawsuit that could be a bad deal. So I looked at him and I said, I want you to know right now, I have no intention of suing you for any kind of malpractice. I really believe that God knows what he's doing, and we'll get through this. You just tell me what you think we should do. He said she needs surgery. And I said, well, you are here, and she is here. And what you planned on doing, you can't do, so you have time. Let's do surgery. And so within about 30 minutes, they prepped her, put her in surgery. They took out about 3 feet of her small intestine. They took out over 50-some tumors, and it was this major operation. She came home. They started her on a chemo program. She did well for a while, and then we could see that it just wasn't working. She tried absolutely everything that was nutritional. She tried anything that we heard of that would possibly work. And I want you to know this. There is no one way for cancer. There are all ways for people. And so just be patient with people as they try different things. Try to tell somebody who has cancer what to do is always a tricky thing, because some things work for some work for others. I found myself buying things I've never thought about buying, rebounders and things for circulatory reasons, a grinder so we could process carrots, and I ground 10 pounds of carrots a day for months while she would drink that juice. It turned her orange. She fought hard, but I could see that we weren't gaining. We took her to the Cancer Treatment Center of America in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then every 2 weeks we were there. But that first visit, they decided they needed to do more surgery. They took an additional 10 feet of her small intestine. I can't even remember what all they took. They took lots of lymph nodes. They took out an additional amount of tumors and began to fight. What I didn't realize was I didn't know anything about hospice. I interpreted hospice as being somebody to come help. I had no idea they were sending her home to die. So that's how naive Nebraskans are sometimes, But they lined up for hospice to come, take care of her. She came home, and she just had a strong will. She got better, she got stronger, and she fought hard. So for the last 4.5 years, she has fought. But our youngest son just got married last year, and that was kind of her goal, to fight to be at his wedding. And she said to me, after the wedding, we were out on the porch here, and we had a lot of people here, and she looked at me and she said, I'm done. And that was really hard. But I knew that she had fought all she could fight, And so I began to pray, and I just want to tell you a quick Bible story. I don't know if you're Christians or what faith you have. I have no idea. But I just want you to know, the book that's never been written is How Long Do You Wait When You Lose Somebody? The Bible story that came to my mind, because I've read the Bible thoroughly. I have a philosophy major, I have a minor in psychology, I have a minor in Bible, and I have a major in history. So I was going to be a coach, you know. The Bible story that I have read that I never really understood, but I always thought about it, was this one, that David had a son who got very, very ill. And I don't know what your perspective is on the scriptures, but whether you believe them or don't, the scripture says someday you'll believe them. You know, that's just the way it's going to be. It'll unfold in a way that we see the reality of it. But David prayed for his son to be healed. And his son wasn't healed. And he fasted, which meant going without food, and he prayed, and he quit work. He did everything he could to make that boy live. But his son died. The next morning, he got up, and he said to his people that were around him, cook breakfast, and let's go to work. And I've always thought about that, how we mourn so long that costs us so much of life. And I had determined that I would not let Rosemary's death overwhelm me, or I wouldn't let it make me bitter. I had no regrets. I had 40 years of living with Rosemary. That was a good marriage, and we have good kids. When we came back from college, I told her, I don't care where we live. I just want to raise our kids in one school system. Because my father had moved around a lot. He would buy places, he was a land baron, and we would fix them and sell them, and I was always moving to different schools. Fortunately, athletics was, you know, if you're an athlete, you're always in. And so I just told her, I don't want my kids to have to go through that competitive, always struggling to fit. And so she said, this was be fine. So we moved here, and I didn't know math very well. But when you start having a family, you made a long-term commitment to get them through one system. I have 4 kids, so you figure it out. It's a long time. So we stayed here, took care of our kids, raised them, and 40 years later, I realized that it wasn't a matter of was she going to live or not live. She was pretty much like David's son. She was going to die, and how was I going to handle it? You know, and I determined not to be bitter, but to be thankful for the time I had. So I began to pray that God would bring somebody into my life that would be a blessing to me and help me with the things I'm involved with. I am a real estate agent, so I sell property. We have land starting up through here, so I get on tractors and we farm. And then we've got grass ground, which means I run cattle. And then I've started pastoring this little church, which is a new venture for me. So there are a lot of things that we do. We also have an auction service, so we auction personal property and real estate. We do collectibles. We do all kinds of stuff. And so we're tremendously busy. I just began to pray, God, help me survive this dating game thing at age 60. Because whether you realize it or not, it's a whole different ballgame. And when you become available, people make themselves available. It's something that you don't anticipate. And Nell's mother died about the same time Rosemary did. And so I'm friends with a Catholic father in town, and somehow he mentioned me at Nell's presence at her mom's funeral. And so on the way back to Kansas City, she called me. Now, the interesting thing is, when I went to that little grade school in Juanita, some 47 years ago, when I was in the 8th grade, Nell was in the 7th grade. And we hadn't seen each other for 47 years. So when she called, she just said, this is a name out of the past. You know, I'd forgotten about you, but Father Val mentioned you. You don't need to return a call. But in my heart, I thought, is this the one that God will provide for me? You know, that will solve some of these issues of loneliness and issues of remorse and grief, you know. And so I think the book that's never been written is what's an appropriate time to wait after somebody dies before you date anybody or have any relationship. And unfortunately, some of you someday will remember this conversation. And I just want you to know there is no wrong time. And it's what's in your heart, and it's what God provides for you. So don't fight it, and just let God provide for you as you need to. I called Nell on the phone, talked to her, and went to see her and said, would you marry me? And so we got married on February the 14th this year, right in front of that pile of rocks, and said, here we are. Cancer has a tremendous effect on people. 2 years ago, when one of the writers was here, and some of you may know who it was, he had a necklace that was the port that he had fought cancer, and he had made a necklace out of it. You remember? And
You remember?
do you remember? Yeah. Well, interesting, but that really spoke volumes to me. And so one of the requests I made when Rosemary died was that they would save her port for me. Your friend's port was stainless steel. Rosemary's port was plastic. It was her life beat. Every 2 weeks we went to Tulsa. It would take 5 days of chemo and a couple of days travel time. So every 2 weeks I was gone a week, you know. And because of that, our farming got behind, my jobs got behind, my whole vocational and career things just kind of went on hold for a few years here. And it cost just a little under $4 million to treat Rosemary. And I'm not saying that by any way of regret. I'm thankful I had what insurance I had. Insurance is not the answer. It takes a lot of resources besides that. Rosemary and I had decided we didn't have a savings program, and I'm not suggesting that to you, but we had decided that we would just buy more land with money. So we bought land, and we had decided that if ever we needed it, we'd sell land. And so it was time to sell land and cover debt. And that's a hard thing to do if you are a landowner. But we sold land, and then I had to make some adjustments on just the way we operated. We had a cow herd, and we raised calves. We had to sell that cow herd, and that's extremely hard to do. I mean, you don't think you're attached to things, but you are. And so we sold our cow herd, we liquidated things. We changed our whole operation around and reduced a lot of things. But what happened to me was a lot of priorities in my life. God has really dealt with in my age, you know. And I just want you to know, you could get trapped in the things that hold you for years. But this last year has really freed me up from a lot of things that I thought were important. And I look at things a lot different now. And I'm thankful for Nell. She has a lot to deal with me. Just in who I am and coming into my world. Coming into Rosemary's home. And all those kinds of things. So the cancer thing, you're doing a lot of things besides research. You're helping people deal with the whole strategy of how do I survive if I'm a survivor. You know. I kept Rosemary's report. I laid it on my sink. I never even told Nell what it was. But I would look at it and look at it and look at it, and I didn't know quite what to do with it. But I realized that that was a part of my holdings that I had to give up just a few months ago. I said goodbye to the port and said, it's a memory, there it goes. You know, no necklace, no nothing, just years of an adjustment. So, you know, I really appreciate you stopping here and being a part of this whole effort, you know, to fight cancer. It's just good to see you, and I think you're strong and you're good kids, and I hope that you have high ideals. I hope that you have established some things that you will not do. And if you haven't, while you're pedaling, you need to make a list. I will not do this, and I will not do that. And you ought to have a list of 4 or 5 things that in your life you will decide, I will not do these things. And it will save you a lot of heartache. Those things will be personal. You may not even want to share them with anybody. But I really believe that God speaks to us in our hearts, and He helps us academically understand things. And there will be some things that you shouldn't do. My mom told me this one time. She was a very smart lady, smart, practical-wise. And she said, Johnny, just remember this. Sometimes, in moments of rebellion, you can make lifelong decisions. So, you know, you want to be careful, kids. Some things you don't want to do. They could put you in a spot that you don't want to be for the rest of your life. So, as you're pedaling, not only are you working for other people, but you must will teach you things on this trip that you won't learn any other way. So, another year, I hope you will come. I wish you could come and stay all night here. I'd love to have you. Nell would love to have you. We would take care of you.
You can stay.
Yeah. I wish that it would work that you could come to our church and be at church. People would love to have you. They would take care of you. So as you plan next year, if it works out, great. I don't want to disrupt anything you're doing. But if we're a water stop, that's fine. You know, it's whatever. But thank you so much, and enjoy. You don't have to leave. Stay as long as you want. Leave whenever you want.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
How long have you been involved?
With Hopkins 4K for Cancer. I was chosen to be a co-director in September, late September of this year. So since then, basically every single day, I've been devoting many hours to helping keep this whole thing together. So.
What made you get involved? Obviously, it's for a great cause.
It's for a great cause. It's an incredible experience for all those involved, whether it be on the riding end, the driving end, or on the host end. It's just an incredible program, and people are really what I'm passionate about, so this was an awesome experience to really get hands-on and get to talk to a lot of different people and impact them in different ways. And obviously it's philanthropic. I'm into public health, so this is really a great way to really just be involved in like a direct kind of way. I don't know. And then I also have two people in my family that were affected by cancer, so it kind of touched home on that way too. My grandmother on my father's side is a breast cancer survivor, and he's actually riding with us the first 7 days, the first 6.5 days of the trip. And then my mother's sister's husband, so my uncle, died of melanoma that spread into his bones. So it means a lot to me personally too to be involved with an organization that has helped so many and just meant so much to so many people like my family that have been touched by cancer. So.
Is this the first time you're doing the ride?
Yeah, this is my first time.
How's it going so far for you?
It's going well. It's going real well. I've been tired, but I guess that's to be expected, and a little sore. But I mean, it's a really great group of people. We've been meeting some really great communities and seeing some beautiful sights.
Did you see have a chance to talk to some of the local people on the way out so far?
Yeah, we have been. Yeah.
All right. Any meaningful conversation that you recollect at this moment?
I think the most meaningful conversations I've had have been with a lot of people going around and trying to get food donations, and just sort of hearing people's stories and seeing just how willing they are to help out. Of just giving like a few words of like this person I know that had this cancer, or this person I know that had this, or my relative knew this person, or just sort of all of those associations that you can make bonds with people just over something as terrible as cancer, yet they can sort of support you in such a large way.